The trip was supposed to be routine. A 3-day conference, slides, polite dinners, the low hum of airports and fluorescent hotel lobbies. She had rehearsed the details so often that even her lies sounded like rehearsed facts. "Don't worry," she'd said, pressing a kiss to my forehead that tasted faintly of coffee and the perfume she only wore for special meetings. I stayed behind, promised the dog would be fed, the plants watered, the house quiet, an ordinary domestic trust that felt heavier the minute she was gone. On the second night, I couldn't sleep. Trust is a strange thing that frets louder in empty houses. I told myself I was being ridiculous until text messages started to arrive at odd hours. A voicemail clipped in the middle of laughter, a blurred camera roll photo of two silhouettes at a distance. Nothing explicit, but everything implied. My instincts, those impatient animal instincts, told me to wait, to be the wronged husband who takes the dignified path and arranges a controlled confrontation. But dignity is a practical joke when your gut is a furnace. I booked a one-way ticket on the next flight and pretended it was a last-minute client meeting. I told myself I was going for closure. In truth, I wanted to touch the certainty that would let cold logic replace the burn of suspicion. The hotel lobby smelled like lemon and lemon-scented lies. Her name still echoed in my head as I checked in under my own name, watching the clerk's fingers move over the keyboard, the hum of the guest elevator, the soft click of heels I recognized without needing to look. She was there, exactly where she said she'd be, smiling flawless, the kind of smile that was all practice and no permission. He was there too, the man whose name had begun to stitch itself into corners of my days, who carried himself with the easy arrogance of someone used to taking what he wanted. They spoke in the same low, intimate tone I'd heard before only through a paused voicemail. Their laughter knit around the space between them and excluded me. I should have left then and let the image remain a wound rather than pry the scab off for good. But something in me needed the physical proof that would make this more than a suspicion. I followed them up the corridor, my steps soft, a practiced hush. If anyone saw me, they would have assumed I was a late guest on my own business trip. When the elevator opened on their floor, he shushed her like a conspirator and produced a hotel key card with a casual hand, already holding it like an emblem of ownership. It was a moment I wanted frozen. The two of them framed by the soft light of the corridor, the key card a small, clinical piece of plastic between them. Their conversation was a string of half-phrases, names of restaurants, plans for late-night wine, the way their shoulders leaned inward, as if the world were smaller for the two of them. He flashed the key card to the reader and slipped it into the slot with the habitual ease of someone who expected doors to open for him. The little display blinked green. The door clicked. As they disappeared inside, my hand brushed against my pocket and found the small, almost absurdly mundane thing I'd stuffed there on impulse. A single hotel key card that had been left under my windshield wiper that morning, an anonymous welcome gift from the same hotel where she now held court. I'd meant to toss it into the glove compartment and forget it, some token from a corporate perk, but my fingers had kept it like a talisman until now. Inside the room, the air changed. Laughter turned to something softer, more dangerous. The balcony door gave onto the city lights and the muffled constancy of late-night traffic. The bed looked like a battlefield negotiated and won. I didn't need to open the door. The security latch was the weak point of their plan. A simple suction and a sliver of a glance beneath would be enough. I eased my hand around the edge, feeling to give it a latch, and that's when the truth, tiny, plain, and infuriatingly undeniable, revealed itself. On the dresser, propped against a glass of water, sat a hotel key card with his name printed across it in block letters, the kind of impersonal typography hotels use to make everything feel official. His name, not her name. I wanted to laugh and throw up at the same time. It was the absurdity of it that made my legs weak. The banality of betrayal presented like a punchline. He had left no grand declaration, no confession of love, only the casual personal possession of a key card. He had made a small, stupid mark that proclaimed he'd been here, that the room had more than one name attached to it. The card was an object so ordinary it felt obscene. I took it, turned it over my fingers, and for an instant I imagined it was a talisman of my own. Proof that I'd seen, proof that I could hold their deceit and name it. The balcony felt suddenly too narrow for the weight of the decision pressing at my chest. I did not burst in. Revenge scenes in movies are thrilling only for the camera. In real rooms, They are tedious and messy and leave you empty. Instead, I slid quietly back into the corridor, keycard tucked in my pocket like contraband, heartbeat loud enough to drown out the hotel's muzak. I walked down to the reception and asked for a copy of the bill under the pretense of reconciling travel expenses, my voice a practice neutral. The clerk took my name and, curious but professional, printed the folio. The page sagged with the gravity of reality. Small charges for minibar items, a dinner bill with a restaurant they claimed was only for colleagues, and beneath those lines he imprinted their names, his name on the keycard line, her name on the incidental charges. The thing that stung was not the itemized list, but the quiet way the paper arranged the facts so clinically, like evidence in a proper folder. Dates, times, small purchases that added up to a life that had been lived outside of our agreement. I did not scream. I did not smother. I folded the folio and sat until the lobby lights threatened to blur. When she finally found me, because she would, women who conduct affairs are often surprised by nothing so much as their own assumption of invulnerability. Her face registered every stage of the lie. Surprise, then the quick calculation of damage control, then the practiced remorse she had in reserve for lesser harms. "What are you doing here?" she asked, a question that was both naive and theatrical. I held up the key card, and the bill like a lawyer presenting his brief, her composure frayed in a manner almost respectful. She did not deny. She only offered explanations that sounded thin next to the heavy, solid things in my hand. He emerged from the elevator as if by choreography, an apology already drafted like a scripted line meant to be comforting. They expected me to be theatrical, to smash plates or to hurl insults. Instead, I asked for the room key back and handed them the folio. I told them to take their things and leave, that the hotel was not a stage for their next act. My voice was soft. Anger had fled by then, replaced with a clearer thing, the knowledge that the person I love had chosen a different life to live for a while, and that life had its own cheap keycards and secret amusements. They left with hasty movements, a clatter of shoes down the marble steps, their exit almost as mundane as their entry. Standing alone in the lobby, the key card in my pocket felt like a final, ridiculous baton.